I have a White Rogers thermostat that shows system on +2. The +2 is flashing and the house is at 16 degrees Celsius. What does this mean and how do I warm up the house?
Hi, I'm Douglas and I am here to help you resolve problems with your heating and cooling equipment. The +2 is second stage, provided your heating system has a second stage. Is your system a heat pump or maybe a two-stage gas system? What is the desired set point?
I have a heat pump with an oil furnace and my desired set point is 21 degrees Celsius.
I see. In a normal all-electric heat pump, the second stage would be bringing on some auxiliary heat strips in conjunction with the heat pump. Supplemental heat. In a dual fuel system like yours, the backup heat cannot come on as long as the heat pump is on. Eventually it should switch over, but we need to determine which is now running. Is the heat pump on right now if you look outside? What is the outdoor temperature according to the thermostat? At what temperature outside do you wish to transition from heat pump over to oil? The outside temp is about +3 and the heat pump is running and it should not switch over to oil until it is -15. Okay. I guess the question is the heat pump producing its capacity, low on charge or something like that? Sorry to bombard you with questions, but they help me figure out what's happening. Have you run your heat pump to -15 before? I ask because as it gets colder, the heat pump's capacity falls and your demand for heat increases. Did you establish historically that the heat pump's balance point is that low? I guess that's a moot point because at +3, your heat pump should be able to keep up. As it's close to full capacity, is your heat pump single or two-stage? Model number would be helpful if you don't know. Do you have a means to measure the supply air temperature close to the furnace and coil? We could see what kind of heat it is producing. Is the larger refrigerant line hot to the touch, under the insulation on the line?
I have a root up 024 JKZ, the line under the insulation is hot.
Okay, so that is a single-stage heat pump. For reference, assuming it's working as it should at 8.5 C, it should put out 24,000 PUs. At 8.5 C it will put out 13,900 TUs. I am not going to graph it, but at 3 degrees it will be closer to 21,000 PUs. That is not a lot of capacity to overcome or increase the temperature in the home. It may hold it, but can't really raise it much. Of course, this depends on the size of the home and how well it's insulated. Do you use a nighttime set-back temperature? In other words, do you set your thermostat lower when you sleep and expect the heat pump to warm the house back up in the morning?
The setback temp is 18 degrees Celsius. Sorry, but I must go out now.
At 3 degrees, we are in a position where there is a lot of moisture in the air that is above freezing and the outdoor coil is below freezing. It will eventually frost the coil, reducing the capacity of the system. At some point the system goes into a defrost mode, which uses PIS in the home, cooling mode, to melt this frost. This is counterproductive in one sense that we aren't heating and pulling heat from the home. It may be set to run oil during this defrost, in which case the home won't lose heat during that defrost period, but if not, it's going to allow the house to cool down, and this goes back to what I said about recovering from a loss, in addition to a nighttime setback if there is one. If you are using a nighttime setback, I would suggest stop or make it a smaller differential. Depending on the model of the thermostat, by removing the outdoor sensor, the thermostat will then determine the demand, and make the decision to flip to oil as needed. What I don't know, and I have asked this of White Rogers in the past, if the outdoor sensor is used, will the thermostat still make the call on its own or does it stick to the balance point selected? For now, to warm the home to 21, I would switch to emergency heat and warm it up. Once it warms up, then switch it back to heat pump mode and revisit the balance point. Again, all my numbers are based on the heat pump performing as it should. Any less and the problem is exaggerated. I have dual fuel in my home as an example, and my heat pump will no longer keep up at about -7 degrees Celsius normally, but there are days when moisture levels are high. It is marginal at best. How is it now?
The house is still at 16 degrees Celsius and I have called a repair company and they say that I might need to add some Freon as my system is 11 years old.
I don't doubt there may be an issue with charge, or any number of things. Like I said, depending on the model of thermostat, the fossil fuel could be locked out when an outdoor sensor is used. This becomes an issue when your system is not performing, in that the fossil fuel won't come on. In certain models, if the outdoor sensor is disabled, the separation from set point will make the call to switch over. That of course is not a fix, because if your heat pump is low or otherwise not performing, you want to know about it. Unfortunately, if you are not home, and it doesn't switch over, with a balance point setting below 0, you could have freeze up.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit JustAnswer.com/YTHI.